The orc girl's knuckles had gone white around the handle of the wooden bucket when she saw the dust cloud rising on the eastern road. And Thomas Yardley noticed the way her breath caught, the way her green shoulders tensed beneath the faded work dress she had sewn from his mother's old fabric. He set down the fence post he had been carrying and wiped the sweat from his brow, squinting at the approaching figures. 7 of them, riding hard, their silhouettes distinctive even at this distance. Orcs. Warriors by the look of them, with weapons strapped to their backs and the easy posture of those who had seen battle. Tala, he said quietly, and the girl beside him flinched as though her name had been a whip crack. She was 19 summers old, though Thomas had not known that when he found her half dead in his wheat field 8 months ago, her leg mangled from a wolf trap and fever burning through her like wildfire. He had been 32 then, a former soldier turned farmer, a man who had seen enough of death to know when mercy was required. He had carried her to his house despite the risk, despite what his neighbors would say, despite the fact that every military manual he had ever read listed orcs as enemies of humanity. Now she stood in his yard, the bucket forgotten at her feet, water soaking into the dry earth. Her green skin had darkened slightly over the summer months, tanned from long days working beside him in the fields. Her tusks, small and neat, barely protruded past her lower lip. Her black hair hung in a thick braid down her back, tied with a strip of cloth he had given her. She wore no shoes because her feet were too broad for any he owned, and her toes dug into the soil now as though trying to root herself to this place. "They have come for me," she said, and her voice was steady, but Thomas heard the tremor beneath it. "You do not have to go." She turned to look at him, her amber eyes wide. "Thomas, they are my clan, my blood, and this is your home." He said it simply, as he said most things, without flourish or drama. He was not a man given to grand speeches. He was tall and lean, his brown hair shot through with early gray, his face weathered from sun and wind. His hands were calloused from work, his back strong from years of labor. He had never been handsome, but his face was kind, and Tala had told him once that kindness was its own beauty. The riders drew closer. Thomas could see them clearly now. 5 males, 2 females, all wearing the traditional leather armor of the Stonefang clan, decorated with bones and dyed in earth tones. The one in the lead was massive even by orc standards, his shoulders broad as an ox yoke, his face marked with ritual scars. "That is Grokmer," Tala whispered. "My brother." Thomas felt something twist in his chest. She had never mentioned a brother. In fact, she had spoken very little of her past, and he had not pressed her. He knew she had left her clan or been cast out. He knew the scars on her back were not from any animal. He knew she woke sometimes in the night, gasping, and that she calmed only when she could see the moon through her window and remember where she was. The riders pulled up at the edge of his property, their horses stamping and snorting. Grokmer dismounted in one smooth motion, his eyes fixed on Tala. He was perhaps 40, his green skin darker than hers, his tusks prominent and decorated with silver rings. When he spoke, his voice carried across the yard like thunder. "Tala Stonefang, we have found you at last." Tala stepped forward, putting herself between Thomas and the newcomers. It was an instinctive gesture, protective, and Thomas felt his heart clench at it. "I am here," she said. "I am alive. You can see that. You can go." "Go." Grokmer's expression was unreadable. "Sister, we have searched for you for nearly a year. We thought you dead. Mother has mourned you. The clan has sung your death song. And you say we can go." One of the female orcs dismounted as well, younger than Grokmer but with the same strong features. "Tala, we tracked your blood for 3 days after the wolves attacked. We found only pieces of your clothing and so much blood. How did you survive? Tala's hand moved unconsciously to her left leg, where the scars still twisted beneath her skirt. I was found. I was helped. All eyes turned to Thomas. He stood his ground, meeting their gazes without flinching. He had faced enemy soldiers before. He had stood in shield walls and felt the press of battle. 7 orcs on his farm were intimidating but not terrifying. What terrified him was the thought of Tala leaving. Grokmer took a step closer, studying Thomas with the intensity of a predator assessing prey. You are the human who took my sister. I am the human who saved her life, Thomas replied evenly. I am Thomas Yardley. This is my farm. Tala has lived here as my guest and my friend. Friend. Grokmer tested the word as though it were foreign. Humans do not befriend orcs. This one does. They stared at each other for a long moment. Thomas was aware of every weapon the orcs carried, aware of how quickly this could turn violent. But he was also aware of Tala beside him, her breathing quick and shallow, and he knew he would not back down. It was the younger female who broke the tension. I am Shara, Tala's cousin. May we approach? We have traveled far and mean no harm to you or our kin. Thomas nodded, and the orcs came forward, though several kept their hands near their weapons. Grokmer's eyes never left his sister. We thought the wolves had taken you. We searched until the snows came. When spring arrived, Mother sent us out again. It was Korak who found the rumor of an orc girl living on a human farm, working the fields like a peasant. Tala lifted her chin. There is honor in work. Thomas taught me that. Thomas taught you, Grokmer's voice rose. What else has this human taught you, sister? To forget your blood, to forget your people. I have forgotten nothing. Tala's voice shook now, but with anger rather than fear. I remember everything. I remember why I left. I remember the words that were spoken to me. I remember being told I was weak, that I brought shame to the clan because I did not wish to raid human villages. I remember being sent on the hunt as punishment, sent into territory we knew had wolves, sent with warriors who abandoned me when the pack attacked. The silence that fell was absolute. Thomas felt the weight of old pain in Tala's words, the revelation of truths she had kept locked away. He wanted to reach for her, to offer comfort, but he sensed this was a moment between her and her kin. Grokmer's face had gone still. You believe we left you to die. I know you did. Varka and Shrock returned to camp and said I had fallen. They made no effort to search for me. They were glad to be rid of the weakling who questioned the old ways. Shara made a low sound of distress. Tala, no. Varka and Shrock said you fell into a ravine. They said they could not reach you, that they heard you scream but could not find a way down. They were punished for losing you. Varka took 50 lashes. When the truth came out that they had lied, that they had abandoned you because you argued with them about the raid, they were exiled. They are no longer Stonefang. Tala swayed, and Thomas moved without thinking, his hand catching her elbow. She leaned into him for just a moment, drawing strength before straightening again. They were exiled. Mother was furious, Grokmer said, and his voice had gentled. She loved you, Tala. She loves you still. When we found the evidence of their lies, she cast them out herself. She has never stopped grieving for you. Then, why did she let them send me on that hunt in the first place? Tala's words were bitter. Why did she not speak for me when I said raiding human farms was dishonorable? Why did she let the elders call me weak? Grokmer sighed, and suddenly he looked tired. Because she is chief, and the clan was divided. Half the warriors agreed with you. Half wanted to continue the old ways. She thought if you proved yourself on the hunt, it would unite them behind you. She did not know Varka and Shrock would betray you. Thomas felt the tremor run through Tala's body. 8 months of wondering, 8 months of believing her family had wanted her dead, and now the foundations of that belief were crumbling. He knew that sensation, the disorientation of having your understanding of the past rewritten. He had felt it when he came home from the war and learned that the enemy soldiers he had killed had been conscripts, farmers forced to fight just as he had been. "I do not know what to believe anymore," Tala whispered. Thomas spoke quietly, for her ears only. "You do not have to decide this moment. Let them rest. Let them eat. Hear what they have to say." She looked up at him, searching his face. "You would welcome them. Even though they frighten you, they do not frighten me." It was mostly true. "And even if they did, your family has traveled far to find you. That means something." Tala turned back to her brother. "You may water your horses at the trough. I will bring food." It was not a warm welcome, but it was not a rejection either. Grokmer nodded slowly. "Thank you, sister." The orcs moved to tend their horses, speaking quietly among themselves. Thomas walked with Tala back to the house, a sturdy structure of timber and stone that his grandfather had built. Inside, it was simple but clean, with a large hearth, a table he had made himself, shelves lined with preserves and dried herbs. Tala's presence had added small touches over the months. A vase of wildflowers on the windowsill, curtains sewn from flour sacks, her few possessions arranged neatly on a shelf in the small room he had given her. She moved automatically to the larder, pulling out bread and cheese, dried meat and apples. Her hands were shaking. Thomas caught them gently, stilling them. "Breathe," he said. She breathed, a long, shuddering inhalation. "I thought they hated me. I thought I was alone." "You are not alone. You have never been alone, not since I found you." She looked at him then, really looked at him, and Thomas saw something shift in her expression. It was a look he had caught before in unguarded moments when she thought he was not watching. A look of longing and uncertainty and fear all mixed together. "Thomas, if I go with them, do not think of that now. Feed them. Listen to them. Then decide." She nodded and returned to preparing the food. Thomas went to the well and drew water, filling a large jug. By the time he returned, the orcs had settled in the yard, sitting in the shade of the old oak tree. They looked strange there, these warriors on his peaceful farm, but also somehow right, as though the land itself did not distinguish between orc and human. Tala brought out the food on a large wooden platter, and Thomas followed with the water. The orcs accepted the offering with nods of thanks, and for a while there was only the sound of eating and drinking. Thomas sat beside Tala on the porch steps, close enough that their shoulders almost touched. Shara was the first to speak again. "This is good bread. You made this, Tala," Thomas taught me. "I had never baked before." "You can do many things now that you could not do before," Grokmer observed, looking around the farm. "The fields are well tended. The fences are strong. You have learned human ways." "I have learned to survive," Tala corrected. "I have learned that work is not shameful, that providing for yourself and those you care for is noble." Another orc, older than the rest, with graying hair and a thoughtful face, spoke up. "I am Durak. I was your father's friend before he fell in battle. Your words sound like his words. He believed that strength came not just from the sword but from the field, that a warrior who could not feed themselves was dependent and therefore weak." Tala's eyes widened. "I did not know he thought that." "You were young when he died, only 8 summers, but he would have taught you these things. Your mother knew this. It is why your words troubled her so much. You sounded like him, and it reminded her of what she had lost." The pieces were falling into place, Thomas could see. The family dynamics, the old wounds, the misunderstandings that had compounded into tragedy. He had seen it before in his own family, before the war took him away and time took them. Communication was the hardest battle of all. Grokmer leaned forward, his elbows on his knees. "Tala, I will speak plainly. Mother sent us to find you and bring you home. The clan needs you. The division remains. Half want to continue raiding, half want to find a new way. Without you, there is no bridge between them. You are the daughter of our greatest warrior and our wisest chief. Your voice matters. My voice did not matter before. It does now. The exile of Varka and Shrock changed things. Mother stood before the clan and admitted she was wrong to let you be sent away. She admitted that your words had merit. But she is old now, Tala. She is tired. She needs you. Tala was silent for a long moment. Then she said, "What if I do not wish to return?" The question hung in the air like a sword about to fall. Thomas felt his heart hammering in his chest. He had known this moment would come, had known since he saw the dust cloud on the horizon, but that did not make it easier. Grokmer looked at Thomas, then back at his sister. "Then you would break your mother's heart, but the choice is yours. We will not force you. We will not drag you away like a prisoner. You are Stonefang. You have always been free to choose your path. Even if that path leads away from the clan, even then." Grokmer's voice was heavy. "Though I would ask you to at least return for a visit, to see Mother, to let her know you are well. If after that you wish to return here, we will not stop you." It was a fair offer, Thomas thought. More than fair. But he also saw the trap in it. If Tala returned, even for a visit, she would be pulled back into that world. She would see her mother, hear the needs of the clan, feel the weight of obligation. And she was kind. His Tala, she was good and loyal. She would not be able to walk away a second time. But he also knew he could not ask her to stay. He could not chain her here with guilt or need. If she stayed, it had to be because she chose him, not because she had nowhere else to go. "How long would you visit for?" Tala asked. "As long as you wish. A few days, a few weeks. Mother would want time with you." Tala looked at Thomas, her eyes pleading for guidance. He wanted to give it. He wanted to tell her to stay, to refuse them, to choose the life they had built together. But instead he said, "It is your choice. I will not speak for you." "But what do you think I should do?" He chose his words carefully. "I think family is important. I think unfinished business festers like a wound. I think you should see your mother, hear what she has to say, and then decide with full knowledge of all sides." He paused, then added quietly, "But I also think you know where you belong." Her hand found his, her green fingers lacing through his calloused ones. It was the first time she had reached for him openly, without hesitation or second-guessing. The orcs saw it, and Thomas watched their reactions. Shara's eyes widened. Durak nodded slowly. Grokmer's expression became carefully neutral. "I see," Grokmer said softly. "It is like that, then." Tala lifted her chin. "Yes, it is like that. Does he know?" "He knows." She squeezed Thomas's hand. "I have not hidden my heart, even if I have not spoken it aloud." Thomas felt his breath catch. They had never discussed this, never named what was growing between them. It had seemed too fragile, too impossible. He was human, she was orc. The world would not understand. But in this moment, with her hand in his and her family watching, it felt suddenly real. Grokmer stood and the other orcs followed suit. "Then we have much to discuss. But not today. Today we will make camp and rest. Tomorrow we will talk more." "You will camp here," Thomas said, standing as well. "There is space in the barn and it is clean. You are guests." "We could not impose. You are not imposing. You are Tala's family. That makes you welcome." Grokmer studied him for a long moment, then nodded. "You are an unusual human, Thomas Yardley. I have been told that before." The orcs gathered their belongings and followed Thomas to the barn. It was a good-sized structure, well-maintained, with empty stalls and a loft full of hay. He showed them where they could sleep, where the well was, where to find feed for their horses. They accepted his hospitality with quiet thanks, and he left them to settle in. When he returned to the house, Tala was sitting at the table, her head in her hands. He sat across from her, waiting. She finally looked up, her eyes bright with unshed tears. "I do not know what to do," she said. "What does your heart tell you?" "My heart is torn. I love my mother. I love my clan. But Thomas, I love you too." The words came out in a rush, as though she had been holding them back for too long. "I love this life. I love waking to the rooster's crow and working in the garden and baking bread and mending fences and all of it. I love the quiet. I love the peace. I love the way you say my name. I love the way you look at me like I am not a monster." Thomas reached across the table and took her hands. "You are not a monster. You have never been a monster. The world thinks I am. The villages nearby fear me. The travelers on the road stare and whisper. Only you have ever seen me as just me. Then stay. Stay here where you are seen. But my mother will still be your mother whether you go or stay. Tala, I will not tell you what to do, but I will tell you this. I do not want you to go. I do not want to wake up tomorrow and find you gone. I do not want to work these fields alone again. I do not want to lose you." His voice roughened with emotion. "I have lived 32 years, and I have never felt for anyone what I feel for you. I know it is impossible. I know the world will not understand, but I do not care about the world. I care about you." She was crying now, tears streaming down her green cheeks. "I feel the same. I have always felt the same. From the first moment I woke in your house and saw you sitting beside my bed, keeping watch. I thought I had died and gone to some strange afterlife where kindness existed. And then I realized I was alive, and that changed everything." Thomas stood and moved around the table, pulling her up and into his arms. She came willingly, pressing her face against his chest. He held her tightly, feeling the solid warmth of her, the realness of her. She was strong and brave and beautiful, and he loved her with an intensity that frightened him. "Visit your mother," he said into her hair. "Say what needs to be said, make your peace, and then come home to me." She pulled back to look at him. "You would wait for me." "I would wait forever if I had to, but I do not think I will have to wait that long. I think you know where you belong." She kissed him then, a fierce, desperate kiss that tasted of salt and hope. It was their first kiss, and Thomas felt the world shift around them, felt the impossible become possible. When they finally broke apart, they were both breathless. "I will go," she said. "I will visit the clan, but I will return. I swear it, Thomas, I will return to you. I believe you." They held each other as the sun set outside, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. Thomas knew the road ahead would not be easy. He knew there would be challenges, prejudice, danger, but he also knew that some things were worth fighting for. Some people were worth the risk. The next morning dawned clear and bright. Thomas woke early, as was his habit, and went out to do the morning chores. He fed the chickens and the pig, milked the cow, drew water from the well. When he returned to the house, Tala was already awake, making breakfast. The orcs emerged from the barn, stretching and yawning. They ate together in the yard, the morning meal simple but filling. Porridge with honey, fresh eggs, bread left over from the day before. The orcs ate with good appetite, and Thomas noticed them watching Tala, seeing how she moved through these domestic tasks with ease and confidence. When the meal was finished and the dishes cleared, Grokmer spoke. "Tala, we must return to the clan soon. We have been away for many weeks. Will you come with us?" Tala looked at Thomas, drawing strength from his presence. Then she turned to her brother. "I will come. I will visit Mother and speak with the clan, but I will not stay permanently. My home is here now." Grokmer's face was unreadable. "You are certain?" "I am certain. This human means so much to you. This human is my life." She said it simply, without embellishment. "He saved me. He cared for me. He taught me that I could be more than what the clan said I was. He sees me, Grokmer, not as a warrior or a symbol or a daughter of chiefs, just as Tala." Shara spoke up, her voice gentle. And you, Thomas Yardley, what is Tala to you? Thomas met her gaze steadily. She is everything. She is my partner, my friend, the keeper of my heart. I know you must find this strange. I know orcs and humans are not meant to love each other, but we do. And I will not apologize for it. Durak made a thoughtful sound. Your words remind me of something Tala's father once said. He told me that love does not ask permission from the world. It simply exists, and we must be brave enough to honor it. Grokmer sighed and ran a hand over his face. Mother will have much to say about this. I am sure she will, Tala agreed, but she does not control my life. No one does. I am grown now, Grokmer. I have survived being left to die, survived nearly losing my legs, survived the winter in a strange land. I have earned the right to choose my own path. You have. I do not dispute it. Grokmer looked at Thomas. If she returns to visit and decides to stay with the clan, will you accept that? If that is her choice, freely made, then yes. But if you try to coerce her, if you use guilt or obligation to trap her, then no, I will come for her, and I will not come gently. It was a threat, clear and direct, and the orcs recognized it as such. Several hands moved toward weapons, but Grokmer held up his hand. Peace. No one will trap her. You have my word. He paused, then added, You care for her greatly, to threaten 7 orc warriors. I would threaten 700 if I had to. Grokmer's expression softened slightly. Perhaps you are worthy of her after all, human. They spent the rest of the morning preparing for the journey. Tala packed a small bag with her few possessions, though she left most of her things at the farm. A statement, Thomas knew, of her intention to return. He gave her a coat he had been mending, wool-lined with fur, to keep her warm on the journey. She hugged it to her chest like a talisman. How long will you be gone? He asked as they stood together in the yard. I do not know. A few weeks, perhaps. Long enough to see Mother, to speak with the clan, long enough to make peace with my past. And then you will come back. I will come back. I promise you, Thomas, I will come back. He wanted to believe her. He did believe her, but fear gnawed at him nonetheless. Fear that once she was among her own kind, she would realize she did not belong with a simple farmer. Fear that her family would convince her she was wasting her life. Fear that he would lose her just as he had found her. She must have seen it in his face because she reached up and cupped his cheek. Do not doubt me. Do not doubt us. What we have is real, Thomas. It is more real than anything else in my life. I know, I am sorry. I am not used to this, to caring so much. It frightens me. I am frightened too, but I am also certain. Remember that in the long nights ahead. I am certain. The orcs mounted their horses, and Grokmer reached down to offer Tala his hand. She took it and swung up behind him, settling into place with practiced ease. Thomas watched, his throat tight. Take care of her, he said. She is my sister. I will guard her with my life. Grokmer's voice was solemn. And you, Thomas Yardley, take care of yourself. Do not work yourself into the ground while she is gone. I will try. Tala looked back at him, and in her eyes he saw all the words they had not said, all the promises still to be made. Then the riders turned and headed east, toward the mountains, toward the orc lands. Thomas stood in his yard and watched until they disappeared from sight, until the dust settled, and there was only silence. The first week alone was the hardest. Thomas threw himself into work, repairing everything that did not need repairing, clearing fields already cleared, splitting wood until his hands blistered. He could not stand the quiet of the house, the empty spaces where Tala had been. Her room, small and tidy, felt like a shrine. He left it untouched, afraid that changing anything would jinx her return. The neighbors noticed. Old Henrik from the next farm over stopped by with a basket of apples. Heard your orc girl left, he said without preamble. Henrik was 70 and had no patience for dancing around subjects. She is visiting her family, They say she is not coming back. They are wrong. Henrik studied him with sharp eyes. You care for her. It was not a question, but Thomas answered anyway. Yes, people will talk. People always talk. Henrik grunted. True enough. Well, she was a good worker. Helped my wife when the baby was sick, brought over herbs and sat up with us through the night. That counts for something. He set the basket on the porch. If she does come back, tell her she is welcome to visit. My wife misses her. Thomas felt a rush of gratitude. I will tell her. Thank you, Henrik. The old man waved a dismissive hand and left, but his words stayed with Thomas. Tala had made friends here, had woven herself into the fabric of this small community. She belonged here. He had to trust that she knew it. The second week brought rain, a steady downpour that turned the roads to mud and kept Thomas inside. He used the time to repair harnesses, mend clothes, organize the pantry. He found himself talking to Tala as though she were there, narrating his day, sharing his thoughts. It was foolish, but it helped. The third week, a merchant caravan passed through and Thomas traded wheat for sugar and salt. The merchant, a weathered woman named Iris, asked about Tala. News traveled fast in rural communities. Is it true she is the daughter of an orc chief? Iris asked as she weighed out the salt. Her mother is chief of the Stonefang clan. Iris whistled low. That is a powerful family, and she gave it up to live on a farm with you. She gave it up because she was nearly killed. I just happened to find her. No, Iris shook her head. You did more than find her. You took her in when any sensible person would have left well enough alone. You healed her, sheltered her, treated her like a person instead of a monster. That is not happenstance, Thomas Yardley. That is character. Thomas did not know what to say to that, so he simply nodded and paid for his goods. But Iris's words stayed with him, a small light against the darkness of doubt. The fourth week, the dreams started. Dreams of Tala in danger, of her calling for him and him unable to reach her. He would wake in a cold sweat, heart pounding, and have to remind himself that she was fine. She was with her family. She was safe. But on the morning of the 28th day, as Thomas was feeding the chickens, he saw dust on the eastern road again. His heart leaped and he shaded his eyes to see better. A group of riders moving fast. More than 7 this time. Many more. He set down the feed bucket and waited, his mind racing. This could be Tala returning, or it could be the clan coming to tell him she had decided to stay. Or it could be something worse, some threat he had not anticipated. As the riders drew closer, he counted them. 20 at least, maybe more. All orcs, all armed. At their head rode Grokmer, and beside him was a figure Thomas did not recognize. An older female orc, her hair streaked with gray, her bearing regal despite the travel dust. And behind them, on a horse of her own this time, was Tala. Thomas ran. He did not care how it looked, did not care about dignity or pride. He ran toward her, and she saw him and slid from her horse before it had fully stopped. They collided in the middle of the road, and he lifted her off her feet, spinning her around. She laughed, the sound bright and joyful, and when he set her down, she kissed him hard, right there in front of her entire clan. I told you I would come back, she said breathlessly. I never doubted it. Liar, you doubted it every day, he laughed despite himself. Every single day. She took his hand and turned to face the assembled orcs. The older female dismounted and approached, moving with the slow care of someone whose joints ached. Up close, Thomas could see the resemblance between her and Tala. The same eyes, the same set to the jaw. You must be Thomas Yardley, the woman said. Her voice was deep and resonant, a voice used to command. I am Karga Stonefang, chief of the Stonefang clan, mother of Tala. Thomas inclined his head respectfully. Chief Karga, you are welcome on my land. Am I? I have brought 20 warriors to your small farm. Most humans would be terrified. I am not most humans. And you are Tala's mother. That makes you welcome, no matter how many warriors you bring. Karga's eyes crinkled, the barest hint of a smile. My daughter has chosen well, it seems. She looked at Tala, her expression softening. I had to see for myself. I had to understand what could make you leave your people. Now I think I begin to understand. Tala squeezed Thomas's hand. Mother, I know this is not what you wanted for me. I know you hoped I would return to the clan, take up a position of leadership, help bridge the divide. But I cannot. This is my home now. Thomas is my home. Karga was silent for a long moment. Then she said, You are happy. I am happy. He treats you well, respects you. He treats me like an equal, like a partner. There is no greater respect than that. Karga nodded slowly. Your father would have liked him, I think. He always said the measure of a person was not in their strength but in their kindness. She turned to Thomas. I cannot pretend to understand this. I cannot pretend I am not disappointed, but I am also not blind. I have watched my daughter these past weeks. I have seen the way she speaks of you, the way her face lights when your name is mentioned. I have seen her heart, Thomas Yardley, and it belongs to you. Thomas felt his throat tighten with emotion. I will spend my life honoring that gift, Chief Karga. I swear it. See that you do. Karga's voice hardened slightly. Because if you break her heart, there is no place in this world you can hide from me. I would expect nothing less. Grokmer stepped forward, a bundle in his hands. We have brought gifts, as is our custom when blessing a union. Blankets woven by Tala's grandmother, a knife forged by her father before he died, seeds from the clan's sacred garden to plant here in this new home. He paused, then added with a slight smile, and a goat, because Shara insisted that every farm needs a goat. Tala burst out laughing and the tension broke. The orcs dismounted and suddenly the yard was full of activity. They unloaded packs, tended horses, and moved with the organized chaos of people who had traveled together for weeks. Thomas found himself in the center of it all, shaking hands, accepting thanks, trying to remember names. Shara appeared at his elbow with a young goat on a lead. The animal bleated piteously. This is Buttercup, she announced. She is friendly but will eat anything not tied down. Tala said you needed more livestock. Thomas took the lead, bemused. Thank you, I think. You are welcome. Also, I like your farm, it is peaceful. If you ever need help with the harvest, send word. I would be happy to visit. She wandered off before Thomas could respond, leaving him with a goat and a growing sense of unreality. This was happening. Tala's family was here, blessing their union, bringing gifts. It was more than he had ever hoped for. Tala appeared at his side, slipping her arm through his. Overwhelmed yet, completely. Good, because it is about to get worse. Mother wants to see the house. She wants to inspect everything, make sure you are taking proper care of me. I am doomed. Probably, she grinned up at him. But I will protect you. Karga's inspection was thorough and intimidating. She walked through every room, examining the furniture, the stores of food, the garden behind the house. She asked Thomas about his finances, his plans for the future, his family history. By the end of it, he felt like he had been through a military tribunal, but Karga seemed satisfied. You keep a good home, she admitted. It is clean, organized, and well-maintained. Tala has chosen a man who can provide for her. That eases my heart. I will always provide for her, Thomas said. And she provides for me. We are partners in all things. Karga's expression softened. That is the way it should be. My husband and I were partners. It is a rare and precious thing. She reached out and gripped his shoulder, her hand heavy and strong. Take care of each other. The world will not be kind to what you are building here. There will be prejudice and hatred and fear. You must be strong. We will be. Good. She released him and turned to Tala. "Come, daughter, walk with me." Tala glanced at Thomas and he nodded. This was between her and her mother. She followed Karga out into the fields and Thomas watched them go, two figures silhouetted against the late afternoon sun. They were gone for a long time. The orcs made camp in the yard and the barn, settling in with practiced ease. They built fires, cooked food, told stories. Thomas found himself drawn into their circle, accepted with a warmth he had not expected. Durak taught him a few words in the orcish tongue. Shara showed him how to properly sharpen a blade using the orc method. Grokmer shared a flask of something strong and bitter that burned all the way down. "You have made my sister very happy," Grokmer said as they sat by the fire. "I have not seen her smile like this since we were children. She has made me happy as well. It is strange, this thing between you, but I am beginning to see the beauty in it." Grokmer took a swig from the flask. "The clan is changing, Thomas Yardley. Tala's choice, her courage in following her heart, has inspired others. We have decided to end the raids. We will focus on farming, on trade, on building relationships with the human settlements. It will not be easy. Many resist, but change never is easy." Thomas felt a surge of hope. "That is wise. There has been too much bloodshed between our peoples." "Agreed. And perhaps, if we are lucky, Tala and you will be the first of many such unions. Perhaps one day it will not seem strange at all for orc and human to love each other." "I hope so." "I truly do." They sat in comfortable silence after that, watching the fire burn down to embers. Around them, the orcs settled in for the night, their voices low and peaceful. Thomas thought about how impossible this would have seemed a year ago. Orcs camping on his farm, sharing his food, calling him friend. Tala choosing him over her clan, her family accepting it. The world was changing, one small moment at a time. When Tala and Karga finally returned, the moon was high. Tala's eyes were red from crying, but she was smiling. Karga looked tired but at peace. They joined the circle by the fire and Karga spoke to her people. "I have made my decision," she announced. "Tala will remain here with Thomas Yardley. This is her home now and we will respect that, but she is still Stonefang. She is still my daughter. And so this farm is under the protection of our clan. Any who threaten them threaten us. Let that be known." A murmur of agreement ran through the assembled orcs. Thomas felt the weight of it, the significance. Karga had just declared him and Tala under the clan's protection. They were not alone. They had allies, family, a community that would stand with them. "Thank you, Chief Karga," he said, his voice rough with emotion. "Your blessing means more than I can say. Do not thank me. Thank my daughter for being stubborn enough to follow her heart. And thank yourself for being brave enough to save her." Karga stood, using Grokmer's offered hand for support. "Now I am old and tired. I need to sleep. Tomorrow we will feast and then we will return to the mountains. But tonight let us rest." The orcs dispersed to their sleeping areas. Tala and Thomas were left alone by the dying fire. She leaned against him and he wrapped his arm around her shoulders. "How do you feel?" he asked quietly, relieved, grateful, terrified, happy, all of it at once. She looked up at him. "Mother was angry at first. She said I was throwing away my birthright, my responsibility to the clan. But then I told her about finding you, about how you cared for me, about the life we have built. And I told her I loved you, that I would rather have one lifetime with you than 100 without you. And she understood. She said she felt the same way about my father. She is a remarkable woman. She is. And she gave us her blessing, Thomas, not just permission. Her true blessing. She said she sees the hand of fate in our meeting, that perhaps the gods brought us together to show both our peoples a new way forward." Thomas kissed the top of her head. "Perhaps they did. Or perhaps we are just two people who were lucky enough to find each other. Either way, I am grateful." As am I. She turned in his arms to face him fully. I want to be with you, Thomas, truly with you, as your partner, your wife if you will have me. I know human customs differ from orc customs, but yes, she blinked. Yes, yes, I will have you as my wife. Yes, I want to bind my life to yours in whatever way you wish. Yes to all of it, Tala. I have wanted this since the moment I realized I loved you. Her face broke into a radiant smile. Then we should do this properly. In the orc tradition, when two people wish to bond, they declare it before their families and exchange tokens of commitment. Tomorrow, before my clan leaves, will you stand with me and make that declaration? I would be honored. They kissed then, a long, slow kiss that tasted of promises and tomorrows. Around them the farm was quiet, the orcs sleeping, the night peaceful. Thomas thought about the journey that had brought them here, all the pain and fear and uncertainty. And he thought about the future, bright with possibility. The next morning, the entire clan gathered in the yard. Karga stood at the center, with Tala and Thomas before her. She had dressed in her full regalia, leather and bones and symbols of her office. She looked every inch the chief, powerful and ancient and wise. We are gathered to witness a bonding, she announced, her voice carrying across the assembled crowd. My daughter, Tala Stonefang and Thomas Yardley, farmer and protector, have chosen to bind their lives together. This is a new thing, a orc and a human joining in this way, but love does not ask permission. It simply is, and so we honor it. Tala stepped forward, holding a braided cord of leather and hair. Thomas Yardley, I offer you this cord, woven from my hair and leather from my first kill. It represents my strength, my history, my very self. I give it to you freely as I give my heart freely. Will you accept it? Thomas knelt, bowing his head. I accept it, Tala Stonefang. I will wear it with pride and honor the gift you have given me. She tied the cord around his wrist, her fingers gentle. Then Thomas stood and produced a ring he had made in secret during the long weeks of her absence. It was simple, carved from oak and polished smooth, with her name etched inside. Tala Stonefang, I offer you this ring, carved from the tree that shades this house, the place where we found each other. It represents my home, my peace, my very self. I give it to you freely as I give my heart freely. Will you accept it? Tala's eyes filled with tears. I accept it, Thomas Yardley. I will wear it always and honor the gift you have given me. He slipped the ring onto her finger and it fit perfectly. Karga raised her hands. Then it is done. By the laws of the Stonefang clan you are bonded. May your life together be long and full of joy. May you face the world as one, stronger together than apart. May your love be a light in the darkness. The orcs erupted in cheers and shouts, banging weapons on shields, stamping feet. Thomas pulled Tala into his arms and kissed her soundly, to more cheers and laughter. When they finally broke apart, both were grinning like fools. The feast that followed was unlike anything Thomas had ever experienced. The orcs broke out stores of food and drink they had brought with them, and combined it with what Thomas and Tala had. There was roasted meat and fresh bread, stewed vegetables and sweet cakes, mead and ale and the strong orcish liquor Grokmer favored. They ate and drank and told stories, celebrated late into the day. Henrik and his wife appeared mid-afternoon, drawn by the noise and the smoke from the fires. They stopped at the edge of the gathering, eyes wide at the sight of so many orcs. But Tala saw them and ran over, pulling them into the celebration. Soon, Henrik was deep in conversation with Durak about farming techniques, and Henrik's wife was admiring the orcish weaving with Shara. It was a glimpse of what could be, Thomas thought. Humans and orcs sharing space, sharing food, sharing lives. It was not perfect. There was still wariness, still uncertainty. But it was a start, As the sun began to set, Karga announced it was time for the clan to depart. They packed up their camp with efficient speed, loading horses and checking weapons. One by one they came to say farewell to Tala and Thomas, offering blessings and promises to visit. Shara hugged Tala tightly. "Be happy, cousin, and write to us. Tell us about this new life you are building." "I will, I promise." Grokmer clasped Thomas's forearm in the warrior's grip. "You are my brother now, Thomas Yardley. If you ever have need, send word. The Stonefang clan will answer." "Thank you, Grokmer. That means everything." Karga was the last to say goodbye. She held Tala for a long time, whispering things Thomas could not hear. Then she turned to him. "I am trusting you with my greatest treasure. Do not make me regret it. I will spend every day of my life proving worthy of that trust." She nodded, satisfied, and mounted her horse. The clan formed up behind her, a formidable procession. And then they rode out, heading east toward the mountains, toward home. Tala and Thomas stood in the yard and watched until they disappeared from sight. The silence after they left was profound. Thomas took a breath, feeling the weight of the day settle over him. Then Tala laughed, a bright, joyful sound, and spun in a circle. "We did it," she said. "We actually did it. We are bonded. You are mine and I am yours." Thomas caught her mid-spin, pulling her close. "I have been yours since the moment I found you in my field. This just makes it official. Do you regret it, binding yourself to an orc? Your life will be more complicated now." "I regret nothing. My life was empty before you, now it is full. That is all that matters." She kissed him, soft and sweet. "Then let us begin this life together properly. Come, husband, we have work to do." They spent the rest of the evening cleaning up from the feast, putting the farm back in order. It was good to work side by side, to fall back into the rhythm they had established over the past months. As the stars came out, they sat on the porch steps, tired but content. "What will we do now?" Tala asked. "Now that everything has changed." "What we have always done. We will work the farm. We will live our lives. We will be happy." Thomas paused, then added, "And perhaps eventually we will have children, if you want that." Tala's breath caught. "You would want children with me, half orc, half human children?" "I would want everything with you. And our children would be beautiful and strong and loved beyond measure." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "I want that too. I want a family with you. I want to fill this house with life and laughter. I want to grow old beside you and know that I spent my days well." "Then that is what we will do." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the moon rise over the fields. In the distance, an owl hooted. Buttercup the goat bleated from her new pen. The night was peaceful, full of possibility. The following weeks settled into a new normal. Tala wore her ring always, and Thomas wore his cord, and anyone who saw them knew they were bonded. The neighbors slowly grew accustomed to the sight of them together, working the fields or shopping in the market town. There were still stares, still whispers, but there was also growing acceptance. Henrik's wife started a sewing circle and invited Tala. 3 other women came, and they spent an afternoon teaching her intricate stitching patterns. Tala taught them orcish weaving techniques in return. It was a small thing, but it mattered. The blacksmith in town, a gruff man named Torsten, commissioned Tala to make him a set of harnesses using orc methods. She did, and he was so impressed he told everyone who would listen about her skill. Soon others were asking for her work. Thomas found himself teaching a young boy from a neighboring farm how to raid, and the boy brought his mother, and soon there was a small, informal school happening in the evenings. Tala joined in, teaching the children games from her own childhood, songs in the orcish tongue. Life expanded, became richer, fuller. And through it all, Thomas and Tala grew closer. They learned each other's rhythms, each other's moods. They learned how to fight fairly when disagreements arose and how to apologize with grace. They learned that love was not just passion and romance, but also the quiet comfort of shared domesticity. 6 months after the bonding ceremony, as winter began to creep in, Tala told Thomas she was pregnant. He wept with joy, holding her carefully as though she were made of glass. She laughed and told him she was not fragile, that orc women worked until the day they gave birth and beyond. But he fussed over her anyway, and she let him because she knew he needed to. He built a cradle from oak, carved with protective symbols from both human and orc traditions. She sewed blankets and tiny clothes, singing old lullabies her mother had sung to her. Spring arrived with new life. The fields burst into bloom, the animals gave birth, and on a warm morning with birds singing in the trees, Tala delivered a healthy baby girl. She had green skin slightly paler than her mother's, tiny bumps where tusks would someday grow, and her father's brown eyes. She was perfect. They named her Kara in honor of Karga. When they sent word to the clan, Karga herself came to visit, traveling with a smaller group this time. She held her granddaughter with tears streaming down her face and blessed her in the old language. "She is the bridge," Karga said softly. "The living proof that two peoples can become one. She will grow up knowing both worlds, belonging to both. What a gift you have given us all." Thomas and Tala looked at each other over their daughter's head, and they knew it was true. Kara was more than their child. She was a symbol, a promise, a hope for the future. More years passed. Kara grew strong and bright, learning to walk in the garden, learning to speak in both human and orcish tongues. She was adored by the neighbors, spoiled by her orc aunts and uncles when they visited, treasured beyond measure by her parents. Thomas's hair turned fully gray, and lines deepened around his eyes, but he felt younger than he had in years. Tala's strength never wavered, and she remained as beautiful to him as the day he found her. They added to their farm, expanded their fields, took on apprentices from both human and orc communities who wanted to learn their methods. The village where they traded grew more diverse. Other orcs began to settle nearby, drawn by the Stonefang clan's new philosophy of peace and trade. Intermarriage became more common, though still rare enough to be noteworthy. But each union made the next one easier, more accepted. On Kara's 5th birthday, a celebration was held that brought together humans and orcs from miles around. Children of both races played together without fear or prejudice, learning that they were more alike than different. Adults shared food and stories, built friendships that would last lifetimes. As Thomas stood on his porch, watching his daughter chase other children through the yard while Tala directed the cooking with good-natured authority, he felt a deep sense of peace. This was what he had fought for in the war, though he had not known it then. Not glory or conquest, but simply the chance for people to live their lives in peace, to love whom they chose, to build something good. Tala appeared at his side, slipping her hand into his. "What are you thinking about, husband?" "About how lucky I am. About how one decision to show mercy changed everything. It was not just mercy, it was kindness, it was love." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "You saved me, Thomas. In every way a person can be saved, and I have spent every day since trying to be worthy of that gift." "You were always worthy. From the very first moment you were worthy." He kissed the top of her head. "I love you, Tala Yardley. I will love you until my last breath and beyond. And I love you, Thomas Yardley, my savior, my partner, my home." They stood together as the celebration swirled around them, as their daughter's laughter rang out clear and bright, as the sun set on another perfect day. The clan had come to take the orc girl home, but she had planted her feet by the farmer and said, "I am home." And she had been right. This was home. Not the house or the land, but the life they had built together, the love they shared, the family they had created. Years later, when Kara was grown with children of her own, when Thomas and Tala were old and silver-haired, they would tell the story of how they met. How an orc girl nearly died in a trap and a human farmer saved her. How they fell in love despite the odds. How they built a life that bridged two worlds. And their grandchildren, both orc and human and everything in between, would listen with wide eyes and ask if it was really true. And Thomas and Tala would smile at each other with the secret knowledge of those who have lived a great love story, and they would say yes. It was all true. Every impossible, wonderful word of it. The world had changed because two people chose kindness over fear, love over prejudice. And that change rippled outward, touching lives in ways they could never fully know. But it was enough to know they had tried, that they had stood firm when the clan came, that they had chosen each other again and again. On a warm summer evening, many years after that first meeting in the wheat field, Thomas and Tala sat on their porch and watched the sunset paint the sky in brilliant colors. Their hands were clasped together, fingers intertwined, two lives woven into one. And they were content, knowing they had lived well, loved deeply, and left the world better than they found it. That was all anyone could ask for. That was everything.